All right, guys. So what we're going to cover now is how to invoice what we just quoted on Evo Plus. So we're going to cover a wholesale supplier rate that I mentioned on the training. Now, this wholesale supplier rate can be used in many different ways, not just Evo Plus. You can do it with any of your wholesale supplier sites. Something that I want you guys to be mindful of is there's a few different ways to collect the total amount of the wholesale supplier rate. So I'm going to first show you how to collect it in full. Like I mentioned on the video, the first part of the video, where we quoted everything out, you can collect it in full or you can break it up into payment options. So the first thing that we're going to do is how to collect it when it's paid in full. So if I'm in my TravelJoy back office or dashboard area, this is when I log on. If you guys don't have TravelJoy, I'll go ahead and drop that in my YouTube description so that you guys can get 50% off your first 3 months. Highly suggest using a platform like this. It is very robust and it saves you a lot of time. The full training on TravelJoy is in another video. So today we are just covering Evo Plus and wholesale supplier rate. So first thing I'm going to do is hit create client. I'm going to create my client here. I'm going to add their email. Phone number. And then I usually like to add where I got the lead. So then I'm going to go back to create and I'm going to create a trip. I'm going to look for the traveler that I just created. I could add trip details here. And then we're going to create an invoice. So if I click invoice on the right-hand side, it's going to bring me to this page. Now I have templates. Again, this is another training. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do is if I have collected a retainer deposit up front, I'm going to make sure that's put in here. So if you don't have a template, you can go ahead and just type this in individually. So by just clicking add item, you can type in the item, the description, and the price. All right. Again, that's if you don't have a template pre-made. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the Evo Plus item. So in this case, it would be hotel only. I'm going to put a description. So in this case, I would put Dreams Sapphire, all inclusive for 4, 2 adults, 2 kids, 321 to 325, non-refundable. The reason we want to do this, especially if it's a wholesaler, is so that you don't get charged back. If you do, this is one of the ways that you can prove that it was in writing that it's non-refundable. All right. So for the hotel only, if I pull up my notes, that total was $27.27. So that's what I'm going to put right here for price, because that's what I owe Evo. Then I'm going to add another item. This is going to be my wholesale supplier rate. So again, pause this on the screen so that you guys can copy and paste what I have written. But again, you want to make sure that it says non-refundable. Now, whatever you choose for your wholesale supplier rate, you'll put at the unit cost. So whether you have this screen up or the screen after I hit save, you could do it either way. But since this is a template, I'm going to go ahead and add it here. So if we're going off of the 50/50 rule, my wholesale supplier rate is going to be $24.95. So I'm going to click save for that. And then I have my trip built. $100 retainer deposit credit. Again, if you don't have that here, just ignore it. Okay, I'll delete that. But this total matches the total cost of the trip, right? The only difference is if you have a retainer deposit, it'll just be less $100 because that retainer deposit is $100 that you've already collected for yourself. Now, if you get a lead off of a travel ad, you could go about it a few different ways. Personally, I will still collect a retainer deposit. Other mentors might advise against that, so that's okay. But for all my agents, I advise you to collect a retainer deposit, okay? Now, this is the part that I want to break down a little bit more. So if they pay in full, you'll have this option clicked. You'll put today as the due date. And then you're going to want to click next and hit save to make sure that it really saves your invoice. So if I go back into the invoice and I hit preview, this is what it looks like. All right. It'll have the traveler's name and then the items. Now, this is what the client will see. They will have the option to choose the amount due or to pay a different amount. Now, if they are paying in full and they know that they are paying in full, you should have no issues. They'll authorize it, it'll come through, and then I will show you how to apply payments in another video. In the event that you choose to break it up over payments. So if I'm referencing the smaller deposit, like we discussed, if I want to do 4 payments of $498.75, that's what I'm going to show you how to do now. So if you are not doing a payment plan option, you don't need to watch the rest of this video. Collecting payments will be on another video. Should you want to do a payment plan at 0% interest for your clients, I'm going to show you how to do that now. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back to edit. And then you're going to do deposit and final payment. Right, so the deposit that I'm going to put is the $32.27. Remember, that's today's payment. I'll show you guys how to do the payment schedule in a second. Payment due date, 60 days prior to the trip happening, right? So if the trip's happening on March 21st, it will be due January 21st. A rule of thumb, whatever the supplier says is due, right? So wholesale supplier is different than other companies like Vax, United Vacations, etc., right? Because those aren't wholesale. But a good rule of thumb and a good habit to get into is collecting that final payment 2 days prior. So this doesn't apply necessarily because this is a wholesale, but I want you guys to keep that in the back of your mind for any other suppliers or vendors that you use that are outside of the wholesaler realm. All right, so I have my deposit amount. I'm going to go ahead, click save. I'm going to click back into the invoice, scroll down, click edit. And I'm gonna delete the final payment because I'm gonna have that broken up over multiple payments. So I'm gonna click a fixed amount. You can choose monthly or fixed depending on what you work out with your client. Number of payments, 4. So if I'm referencing that note sheet, 4 payments at $498.75. So I'm gonna go ahead and click custom. I'm gonna click or type $498.75, create schedule. Then it's gonna go ahead and disperse that over 4 different payments. Whatever you choose to work out with your client, you'll just change that due date. So if the trip is due in full by January 21st, I would do every 2 weeks. So, okay, first payment due today. The last payment will be due, work backwards. So last payment will be due the 21st. Then I'm going to do 2 weeks before that, which is the 7th. 2 weeks before the 7th is the 24th. And then 2 weeks prior to that is December 10th. All right. So again, I'm going to click save. And when I click back into the invoice and click preview, this is what it looks like. So the amount due today is their deposit. This is the total amount, the remaining balance. If they want to pay more towards it at any point in time, they can just use this link, click other amount, and make payments towards it. They'll add their card, they'll sign each time they authorize the payment. Typically, if your TravelJoy is set up a certain way, it'll send them notifications when their payment's due so that you don't have to. What you'll receive is you'll receive an email when that payment comes through. So I'll show you what that looks like. So it will say your client has authorized a payment. This is the email that will automatically get sent to you. The amount, then you can click view this invoice and it'll bring you to the page that we're at now. So the next thing you guys are probably wanting to know is how to pay yourself. So I showed you how to pay Evo Plus on the last video. Now I'm going to show you in another video how to take care of payment in Square.